Range for Friday, August 26th. The Fed Chairman Powell was speaking at 10 a.m., and that's when you got all the action. So let's get to it. This is the Dow. Dow had a trade here. This is a 1-minute chart. 10:01, 10:02, and 10:04 were its first three trades, all off of the speech kind of thing, and you can see additional moves after that. But we're going to go over the 25% first for each of these because there's a lot to go through because of the market move so big today. So this is the Dow first trade. We'll go over the 25% first. First trade here on the 25% was a loss, meaning this would be your most safe entry. It was a loss, so you triple up, and you had a win here, so you broke even on the 25%. Trade number or pivot 4, 25% was a win. Pivot 5, 25% was a win. Pivot 6, 25% was a win. Now to the 50%. Pivot 1 was a loss. Pivot 2 was a loss. So this is pivot 3, which is a most safe 50% entry, and you can see that it won. This was worth 38 points. Pivot 4 was a loss. Pivot 5 was a win. Pivot 6 was a win. So just had the 50%, 38 points for a most safe trade, and then the 25% most safes were break even. Basically the same type of situation here on the NQ, although it did have an interesting spike, which we'll talk about here. So I'm going to go over the 25%. So this is the NQ. Again, right after the announcement, trade 1 pivot hit for the 25 loss. So this would be a most safe entry. This is a 1-minute chart, so in the same minute you're entering again, and you had a win. So this one was a loss for the most safe. This was a win for the 25% most safe. So you broke even on the 25% most safe. Pivot 4 came all the way up to here, which was a win for the 25. Pivot 5 was a win. Pivot 6 was a win. Pivot 7 was a win for that. And then moving to the 50%, pivot 1 was a loss. Pivot 2 was a loss. Pivot 3 would be a most safe entry, which was a win worth 18.75 points on the NQ. Pivot 4, 50% was a win. Pivot 5 was a win. Pivot 6 and 7 were wins as well for the NQ. So the 50% NQ was worth 18.75 points, which is $360-ish on a mini contract. And then the 25% were break even. Moving to the S&P. S&P was interesting as well. Again, we'll go off the 25% first here. 25% loss here, making this a most safe entry, which was a loss. Same minute you're entering again, which was a win. So you broke even on the 25% on that. Pivot 4 was a loss on the 25%. Pivot 5 was a loss. So this would make it a most safe entry, which was a loss. Pivot 6 was a win. So you broke even on the 25%. And then pivot 7 was a win. Now, one thing on this trade here, it came down to 56.75, I think it was. Let's see, 57 came down to 41.57. The micros actually came all the way down to 41.55. So 2 whole points. 8-tick difference between the micros and the minis. The reason I mention that is because the next pivot is actually at 55. So on the micros, if you were trading the micros, it came all the way down to 55, and you would have had pivot hit 4 there, which would have wouldn't have mattered as far as the 25%. The 25% already won with this little pop. But the 50% would have lost on the third one, and then you would have entered here and you would have broke even on the 50%. Again, we go based on the minis, but we do talk about the micros, especially when misses by a tick or two or whatever. But I did want to mention that it was an awful big gap between the two, but I noticed that in the micros, so I wanted to mention that. So officially, again, the 25% broke even, so it lost here, got it back here, so it broke even, lost here, and then got it here, so the 25% were break even for the S&P. For the 50% loss here, making this the first most safe 50% entry, and that was a win worth 4.75 points, so just under $250 on a mini. Trade pivot 4 was a loss, pivot 5 was a loss, pivot 6 here is your most safe entry. It needed to get up to 40.75. It got up to 40.25. So it missed it by 2 ticks. So it needed 4.75 points, or basically it needed 19 ticks. Needed 19 ticks. It got 17. So however you want to handle that, if you want to risk it all and add another one here, you would have won and broke even, or change it to a break-even trade if it gets that close. But however you want to handle it, either way, it was break-even on that particular thing. So a win here on the 50% worth 4.75 points. Missed it here by 2 ticks, and then got a break-even there. So officially, just to recap, the 50% were the only thing that officially profited today. The ES had 2 break-even 25%ers and 1 break-even 50%er, and then the ES had 4.75 points, so just under $250 on a mini. NQ just had the 50%, which was $360 or so on a mini, and then the Dow had a 50%, which was worth 38, which is just under $200. But a very active day. I didn't catch all of them by any means; it was just way too fast. I did catch some of it, but hopefully it's helpful and you see it. But that's why you had that movement that you had today. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you next week.